The story of Albany begins long before it became the capital of New York State. In 1609, English explorer Henry Hudson, sailing under the Dutch flag, traveled up the great river that would later carry his name. His voyage opened the door for Dutch traders who saw the region as a perfect location for commerce. Just 5 years later, in 1614, they built Fort Nassau on Castle Island, near present-day Albany. Although this first fort was destroyed by flooding, it marked the very beginning of European settlement in the area. By 1624, the Dutch had returned with renewed determination. This time, they built Fort Orange, a sturdier post located on higher ground. Fort Orange quickly became a center for the fur trade, attracting merchants, adventurers, and Native Americans. Beaver pelts were highly valued in Europe, and Albany's location along the Hudson River made it an ideal place for exchange. Native tribes brought furs, while Dutch traders offered cloth, tools, and other goods. This trade created strong ties, but also tensions between the settlers and the native populations. Over time, the settlement grew beyond the fort's walls. Families began building wooden houses, shops, and small farms along the river. Albany was becoming more than just a trading post. It was turning into a community. Dutch traditions influenced the culture, from architecture to religion. Churches and schools were established, creating the foundation of a permanent town in 1664. The English seized control of New Netherland, including Fort Orange, and renamed the settlement Albany, in honor of the Duke of Albany, the future King James II. Despite this change in rule, Dutch influence remained strong. The residents continued to speak Dutch, practice their customs, and shape the city's identity. Finally, 1686, Albany received an official city charter from Governor Thomas Dongan. This charter gave Albany the legal right to self-govern and made it one of the oldest chartered cities in the United States. By this time, Albany had firmly established itself as a permanent settlement and an important trading hub along the Hudson River. From its earliest Dutch beginnings, Albany grew from a fragile outpost into a thriving town. Its roots in exploration, trade, and community laid the foundation for the centuries of growth and transformation that would follow. Albany's identity as a major trading hub began soon after its founding. Positioned along the Hudson River, the city enjoyed a location that made it a natural crossroads of commerce. Throughout the 17th century, Albany became a central point, where European settlers and Native American tribes exchanged goods. The fur trade, particularly in beaver pelts, was the foundation of Albany's economy. Native Americans brought pelts from deep within the forests, while Dutch and later British traders supplied tools, textiles, and weapons. These exchanges were not only economic, but also cultural. Bringing together two very different worlds, by the early 1700s, Albany was thriving. The town grew beyond Fort Orange, with merchants building shops, taverns, and homes. Its streets bustled with activity as ships sailed up the Hudson carrying goods to and from New York City. Albany was no longer just a small settlement. It was a vital link in the global trade network that stretched across the Atlantic. Albany also gained political importance. In 1754, the Albany Congress was held here, organized by the British. Leaders from several colonies gathered to discuss defense strategies during the French and Indian War. It was in Albany that Benjamin Franklin introduced his famous Albany Plan of Union, proposal to unite the colonies for common defense. Although the plan was not adopted, it marked one of the first serious efforts toward colonial unity, an idea that would resurface years later during the American Revolution. Trade continued to enrich Albany's merchants, but it also created social divisions. Wealthy traders built elegant homes, while laborers, sailors, and immigrants struggled to get by. The growing diversity of the city, however, added to its strength. Different languages, customs, and traditions blended together, creating a unique cultural identity by the mid-18th century. Albany had firmly established itself as one of the most important towns in colonial America. It was a place where goods, ideas, and people converged. The city's economy flourished, and its political role grew. The trading hub of Albany was more than a market. It was a meeting point of nations, cultures, and ambitions continue to shape its destiny as history moved toward revolution and independence. When the British captured New Netherland in 1664, Albany entered a new chapter. The once Dutch settlement of Fort Orange was renamed Albany, honoring the Duke of Albany, who later became King James II of England. Under British rule, the town's character began to change, but its Dutch roots remained strong. People continued to speak Dutch, worship in Dutch churches, and follow their customs. Yet English law and government took hold, shaping Albany into a colonial outpost of the British Empire. Albany's location along the Hudson River made it a strategic military and commercial hub. During the late 1600s and into the 1700s, Albany became a fortified town, often at the center of conflicts between the British, French, and Native Americans. The city's wooden palisades and blockhouses stood as defenses, and its residents lived with the constant threat of war. In the early 1700s, Albany grew into a vibrant community of merchants, farmers, and craftsmen. Brick houses replaced wooden huts, cobblestone streets emerged, and the town became more organized. Albany's population included not just Dutch and English settlers, but also Germans, Scots, and African slaves. Reflecting its role as a colonial crossroads, the French and Indian War 1754-1763 marked Albany as a key military center. British troops used the city as a supply base and staging ground for campaigns in northern New York. Colonial leaders, native allies, and military commanders all passed through Albany during this turbulent period. The Albany Congress of 1754, where Benjamin Franklin presented his Albany Plan of Union, highlighted the city's growing political importance. By the 1770s, Albany was caught in the growing tensions between Britain and the American colonies. Many residents were loyal to the crown, while others sympathized with the patriot cause. This division created uncertainty, but it also revealed Albany's importance in the larger struggle for independence. As the American Revolution approached, Albany stood as a city with deep Dutch heritage, British governance, and a diverse community shaped by trade and war. Its identity reflected both old traditions and new ambitions, preparing it for the dramatic changes that lay ahead. When the American Revolution erupted in 1775, Albany became a vital part of the struggle. Its location along the Hudson River made it strategically important. Whoever controlled the Hudson controlled the flow of troops and supplies. Albany became a military supply center, a meeting place for leaders, and a symbol of colonial determination. During the war, Albany served as a base for the Continental Army. Supplies such as food, weapons, and ammunition were stored and distributed from the city. Local families contributed by donating goods, housing soldiers, and providing labor. Albany's citizens felt the weight of the war. As young men joined the fight and the community worked to support them, one of the most significant events near Albany was the Battles of Saratoga in 1777. Although the fighting took place about 30 miles north, Albany played a critical role in supplying and supporting the Patriot forces. The American victory at Saratoga turned the tide of the war, convincing France to join the fight for independence. Albany's contribution to this effort was substantial and remembered as part of its proud history. Politically, Albany also played an important role. Meetings were held in the city to discuss military strategies, alliances, and the governance of the newly forming nation. The blend of Dutch, British, and American influences gave Albany a unique perspective in the Revolution. While some residents remained loyal to Britain, many others supported the cause of freedom. Life in Albany during these years was difficult. Food shortages, inflation, and fear of attack weighed heavily on the population. Yet the spirit of resilience carried the community forward. Families planted extra crops. Women ran businesses while men were at war. And churches served as gathering points for encouragement and prayer. By the time the war ended in 1783, Albany had been transformed. It was no longer just a colonial outpost. It was part of a new nation. The sacrifices of its people and its strategic importance gave it a lasting role in American history. Albany emerged from the Revolution not only stronger, but also with a deep sense of pride in its contribution to independence. The early 19th century brought dramatic changes to Albany, none more important than the construction of the Erie Canal, completed in 1825. The canal connected the Hudson River at Albany to the Great Lakes, creating a waterway that revolutionized trade and transportation. For Albany, the canal was transformative, turning the city into the gateway to America's westward expansion. Before the canal, moving goods over land was slow and expensive. The canal changed everything. Now, farmers in the Midwest could send their crops to Albany, where they would continue down the Hudson River to New York City and beyond. Manufactured goods traveled in the opposite direction, opening vast markets for industry. Albany became a hub of warehouses, docks, and shipping companies. Its riverfront bustled with boats loading and unloading cargo while new industries emerged. To support the booming economy, the canal also brought people. Immigrants, especially from Ireland and Germany, arrived in large numbers to work on canal construction and later to settle in Albany. These new communities enriched the city's culture, adding churches, traditions, and neighborhoods. The population grew rapidly, and Albany became one of the busiest cities in the young United States. With prosperity came social changes. Merchants and entrepreneurs grew wealthy, building fine homes and investing in industry. At the same time, working class families struggled with poor housing and hard labor. The canal symbolized both opportunity and inequality, shaping Albany's society in complex ways. Politically, Albany's importance also grew. As trade and industry expanded, so did the influence of the city in state and national affairs. It was not just the capital of New York, it was also a symbol of progress and innovation. The Erie Canal transformed Albany from a regional town into a national center of commerce. Its legacy can still be seen today in the city's historic neighborhoods, industrial heritage, and enduring role as a transportation hub. The canal era marked Albany's rise as a city of opportunity, connecting east and west and shaping America's destiny. By the late 19th century, Albany's identity as the seat of New York state government was firmly established. Central to this role was the construction of the New York State Capitol building, a project that spanned more than 30 years. In 1867 and completed in 1899, the Capitol was one of the most ambitious government buildings of its time. The project was expensive and controversial. More than $25 million was spent, making it one of the costliest state buildings in America. Designed by several prominent architects, including Henry Hobson Richardson, the Capitol combined Romanesque and Renaissance Revival styles. Its massive stone walls, grand staircases, and intricate carvings gave it a majestic presence. Even today, it stands as one of the most impressive state capitals in the nation. Construction of the Capitol changed Albany's landscape. Workers, craftsmen, and architects poured into the city, fueling its economy. Around the Capitol, government offices, law firms, and businesses grew, all supporting the work of the state. Albany was no longer just a commercial city. It was a political powerhouse. Decisions made within its walls shaped the future of New York and influenced national policies. Life in Albany during this time reflected the city's dual identity. Wealthy officials and merchants lived in grand homes, while immigrants and working-class families crowded into tenements. The contrast highlighted the challenges of rapid growth. Still, the Capitol gave Albany prestige and pride. It was not just a workplace, it was a symbol of power, democracy, and progress. The building also became a cultural landmark. Visitors from across the state and beyond came to see its unique architecture and learn about government. For Albanians, the Capitol was a source of identity, connecting their city to the broader story of New York and the nation. By the end of the 1800s, Albany had secured its place as the heart of state politics. The Capitol's towering presence reflected both ambition and achievement, marking the city as a center of influence for generations to come. As the 20th century began, Albany was a city in transition. New technologies and social changes transformed daily life. Electric trolleys replaced horse-drawn wagons, and early automobiles appeared on the streets. Downtown bustled with shops, theaters, and markets, creating a lively atmosphere of progress. Immigration continued to shape Albany's identity. Italians, Poles, and Jewish families arrived, adding to the diversity of the city. Each group brought traditions, foods, and places of worship that enriched Albany's cultural fabric. Neighborhoods grew with a mix of languages and customs, making Albany a true melting pot. Industry also expanded. Factories produced textiles, machinery, and other goods, providing jobs for thousands of workers. The Hudson River waterfront was alive with shipping as goods flowed in and out of the city. Yet with growth came challenges. Overcrowded housing, poverty, and poor working conditions affected many families. Social reformers worked to improve health, education, and labor rights. Slowly changing the city for the better, politics in Albany were lively but sometimes controversial. The Democratic political machine, led by figures like Daniel O'Connell, controlled much of the city's government. While critics accused it of corruption, supporters argued it provided stability and support for immigrants. This political climate shaped Albany's reputation well into the century. Culturally, Albany thrived. Theaters hosted plays and concerts, while schools and libraries expanded. Sports teams and local events brought communities together. Despite economic challenges, Albany was a city full of energy, optimism, and determination. The early 20th century was a time of contrasts. Wealthy families enjoyed comfort and influence, while many working-class residents struggled. Yet through these struggles, Albany grew stronger. The city adapted to modern life while holding on to its history and traditions. By the eve of World War I, Albany had become a modern American city, diverse, industrial, and politically significant. Its streets echoed with the sounds of trolleys, factories, and lively conversations in many languages. The Albany of the early 1900s was a place of both opportunity and challenge, shaping the city that continues to grow today. World War II brought dramatic changes to Albany. Like cities across America, Albany mobilized its people and industries to support the war effort. Factories shifted production to make military supplies, providing jobs for thousands. For the battlefield, while women stepped into the workforce, keeping industries running. The spirit of unity was strong, and Albany played its part with pride. The city's factories produced everything from machinery to uniforms. Workers labored long hours, driven by patriotism and necessity. War bond drives filled the streets as families invested their savings to support soldiers overseas. Children collected scrap metal, rubber, and paper, turning everyday items into tools of war. Rationing affected daily life, with families carefully managing limited supplies of food, gas, and clothing. Albany's train stations were busy with soldiers passing through. Communities gathered to send off troops with parades and farewells. Churches and organizations provided comfort, prayer, and letters to those serving abroad. The sense of sacrifice touched every household. Culturally, the war years created new opportunities for women and minorities. With so many men away, women took on roles once close to them, running businesses, driving buses, and managing offices. African Americans also gained jobs in industry, though they faced discrimination. These changes began shifting social norms that would continue after the war. Victory celebrations in 1945 filled Albany's streets with joy. Families reunited, and the city looked toward the future with optimism. Yet the war had left a lasting impact. Many who served abroad returned, changed, and the city itself had grown through hardship. The unity and determination of the 1940s remained part of Albany's spirit for decades to come. World War II proved that Albany was more than a state capital. It was a community willing to sacrifice for the greater good. Its people's courage and resilience became a proud chapter in the city's long history. In the decades after World War II, Albany faced decline. Old neighborhoods were crumbling, and the city needed renewal. In the 1960s, Governor Nelson Rockefeller launched an ambitious plan, the Empire State Plaza. This massive project would forever reshape Albany's skyline and identity, covering nearly 100 acres. The Empire State Plaza included government towers, cultural institutions, and public spaces. Construction began in 1965 and continued into the 1970s. The complex included the Corning Tower, the tallest building in New York outside New York City, as well as the Egg, a unique performing arts center. With its modern architecture, the plaza became a bold symbol of Albany's transformation. The project, however, was controversial. To make room for the plaza, entire neighborhoods were demolished, and thousands of residents were displaced. Critics called it costly and disruptive, while supporters saw it as a chance to modernize the city. Despite the debate, the plaza gave Albany a new image as both a government and cultural hub. The Empire State Plaza also became a home for art and history. Rockefeller, an art enthusiast, filled the complex with an impressive collection of modern works, making it one of the most significant public art displays in the country. Concerts, festivals, and political rallies brought people together in the plaza, making it a gathering place for the community. For Albany's residents, the plaza was both a source of pride and controversy. It represented progress but also loss. Families who had lived in the cleared neighborhoods remembered what was destroyed, while others admired the futuristic design that put Albany on the map. By the 1970s, the Empire State Plaza was complete. Its towering presence defined the city's skyline and symbolized its role as the capital of New York. The project reshaped Albany's identity, blending politics, culture, and modernism into one ambitious vision. Today, Albany is a city that balances its deep history with modern progress. As the capital of New York State, it remains the center of government, home to the governor's office, state legislature, and countless agencies. But Albany is more than politics. It is a vibrant community that celebrates culture, education, and diversity. The city's history is visible in its streets. Dutch-era houses, colonial churches, and the Grand State Capitol remind visitors of Albany's past. Museums and historic sites preserve the story of a city that has stood for more than 4 centuries. Tourists walk through neighborhoods where history lives in every building. Education is central to Albany's identity today. The University at Albany, along with several colleges and schools, attracts students from across the world. Research, technology, and innovation make the city a hub for learning and progress. This academic energy brings new life to the community, ensuring Albany stays connected to the future. Culturally, Albany thrives. Festivals celebrate food, music, and heritage. Diverse communities from long-established families to new immigrants contribute traditions that enrich the city. Restaurants, theaters, and art galleries showcase creativity, while parks and public spaces provide places for families to gather. Economically, Albany has adapted. While it no longer relies on fur trade or canals, it remains a center of commerce and government. Modern industries, healthcare, and education fuel its economy. Its role as the capital ensures stability. While innovation opens new opportunities, most importantly, Albany's people define its character. Generations of residents have shaped the city into a place of resilience and pride. Their stories, whether of immigrants seeking opportunity, workers building canals, or citizens fighting wars, are woven into Albany's identity. Today's Albany is a city of contrasts. Old Dutch houses stand near modern skyscrapers. Past and the present live side by side. This blend gives Albany its unique charm and makes it a living story of America itself. From its earliest days as a Dutch trading post to its current role as a capital city, Albany has endured, adapted, and thrived.